everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time just to make a very short, kind of to the point video where I wanted to talk a bit about the upcoming DLC, of course, that's going to be releasing later today, which is Bhashiva and the Tiger Warriors. Something that some people have asked me to talk about a little bit is just to give kind of a general review of my thoughts about the game and how the DLC, how it is to play, is it worth it, all that other stuff. So I'm just going to kind of throw up some footage here from like the recent stream while I talk about it. Don't get confused. The version of me you see on the screen is from the stream. It is not current me. Anyway, so Bhashiva and the Tiger Warriors, this is a pretty significant DLC. It's the first of its kind that we have had for the game, which is basically the first of these so-called mini packs, where instead of getting 2 or more legendary lords with a bunch of new units and monsters and a bunch of other crazy stuff revolving around them, in addition to a bunch of other content, instead it focuses in on just a very narrow piece of an idea, basically bringing us the Tiger Warriors, which are a brand new species to the Warhammer world, and they're also a new evolution to what it is to play a Grand Cathay campaign, also offering just a new campaign in general. For the sake of this video and to keep the review focused, I am not going to be showing at all, or I'm not going to be talking about the free LC. So I'm not going to be including Talyan in my thoughts. I'm not going to be thinking about the changes to any of the skill trees, the patch notes, the changes to the tech tree, because none of that matters for the review. But so what do we get? So we have Bhashiva and the Tiger Warriors is, I believe, a $5 pack that comes with a new legendary lord, Bhashiva herself, a new campaign, the Sawai Tiger Lord, the Claw Speaker hero, and then 3 Tiger Warrior units, being the regular Tiger Warriors, the Tiger Warrior Stalkers, and then the Iron Claw Tiger Warriors. Do I think this is good value for a pack? Well, I'll start by saying that the Bhashiva campaign, I do think, is a really good time. I think that Bhashiva offers a genuinely new experience that is fairly different from what you get from the other Cathayan lords. She is a much more aggressive campaign that cares significantly less about worrying about building up like a empire, garnering around certain concepts of harmony, or needing to worry about capturing large swaths of territory for the sake of completing your more, like with Yuan Bo, you're building up the whole taking over the geomantic web. With Miao Ying, you're mostly focusing on defending the garrison, as then you then spread out wider. And Zhao Ming, you're mostly focused on dealing with a lot of alliances in the west. With Bhashiva, you're kind of given this interesting idea of that you can start off by sort of focusing on an early campaign, the Mountains of Heaven, but then, or sorry, the Mountains of Morn. And then from there, you're mostly focusing on trying to acquire and go after relics in order to accomplish a bit of a narrative focus campaign around the relics. And the relics can be acquired through several different methods. If you see a relic in a place where a caravan can go through, you can actually just send a caravan to a locale that has a relic, and you will acquire it automatically once the caravan arrives safely, which is pretty cool. Most of them, though, you're going to take by force. And in addition to that, your campaign restricts you rather heavily from having access to Cathayan units, so you have a much, much smaller roster, and instead rely upon doing various missions for Zhao Ming and accomplishing various goals very similar to Tehenuan's Prophet of Sotek system that allow you to get access to more and more pieces of the Cathayan roster, which will build up to you eventually having most of the units. And then from there, you actually kind of have to rely on a fair bit getting allied units. Though, admittedly, Bhashiva's campaign mechanics do take the Tiger Warriors and buff them up to a rather extreme level. So it is fairly easy to get a incredibly elite army, but you're gonna be more forced into doing thematic armies than you maybe normally do, depending on how you play the game. So for me personally, I would say that the Bhashiva campaign is pretty excellent. I haven't finished a Bhashiva campaign, but I've started 3 of them and played into different links of them. And thus far, I've had a very, very good time with it. The campaign itself is very, I feel, different from anything else that currently exists in the game. As I've said, the closest thing I can kind of compare it to is it sort of reminds me a lot of if you took Tehinuan's campaign, and then you added in the like ogre mercenary system from like Goldfag Maneater's campaign, with like how focused he is on it, but without any of the teleporting gimmicks. In some ways, I think this can actually be a fairly difficult campaign, as once you start acquiring relics and you start getting further into more and more into the gameplay, you're going to start finding yourself rather consistently under attack from the threats of chaos. And there are a number of AI factions that will be nearby your starting location that are really not going to like you. You can kind of force, if you want, alliances with the ogres, but the game naturally leans towards making you enemies with the likes of the ogres and Greasus Goldtooth. You're probably going to end up in conflicts with the likes of Helm and Gorst and all of the Chaos Dwarfs, the various demon factions nearby, Kolek Suneater. It's incredibly likely. It's a bit of a coin toss, but there's a very high chance you'll end up having the likes of Asvar Kul, Tarmakon, or Archaon crashing down on you from the north. And then, of course, you have the threats that'll come out of the east, like Village and Sail the Faithless. I think those are all good things, though, because it keeps the campaign very dynamic and interesting. There are a lot of factions that will not like you, but I have yet to have a campaign where the major threat to me has been the same each time. Where there was one campaign where I just ran over Grimgor Ironhide instantly because he didn't really have a chance to build up before I got to him, and it wasn't a big deal. Whereas the campaign, like you're seeing on screen in the background, was a campaign where the Greenskins were significantly more of a threat to me because he had more time to build up, because I had a bit of a slower experience securing territory in the south. But on the flip side, the first campaign I ever did when we got early access but embargoes weren't available yet, was I ended up having a campaign where I secured a good alliance with the ogres, but then Greasus lost horribly to Helm and Gorst, and I was drowning in undead. And so, in my experience with those 3 campaigns, you're going to see some really good variety, and it offers a pretty unique experience compared to most of the other factions in the game. I do really, really like all of her mechanics. I feel like the mechanics that revolve around doing the missions for Zhao Ming are fun. Hunting down the relics can be a little tedious, especially because it almost sort of feels like they spawn within your line of sight. So earlier on in the campaign, if you don't send out a lot of caravans until you get the first relic spawnings, they tend to be rather close. Whereas if you get kind of an unlucky coin flip, it sort of feels like the caravans can get you to see some relics that are really far away, which can slow your campaign down a lot. I don't think it's a perfect campaign. There are some various issues I still have with Grand Cathay in general, but most of that doesn't have to do with this DLC. Probably the only notable complaint I have in regards to the campaign experience revolves around that it still feels like as you get into the mid to later game, the caravans can become seemingly impossible to deliver to their final locales if you don't have one that you've built up really, really well. But that sort of feels more like an issue that has to do with all the Cathayan campaigns and is more of like a free DLC update issue as opposed to a reason not to buy the DLC, for instance. As for the DLC itself, the things that you get are great. Admittedly, I wish there had been more. I feel like, considering that this seems like it feels like it's supposed to be sort of a standalone, here you go, here are your Cathayan Tiger Warriors. The fact that there is no Regiment of Renowns at all, I find fairly disappointing. And I think that I would have really liked to see just one, realizing that I'm trying to keep it within that sort of $4 to $5 limit. I think one Regiment of Renown would have been very, very, very good to have in this DLC, just to add a bit more flavor and to help give people that really enjoy more of a storytelling element like I do, which this campaign seems to revolve around. If anything, this sort of felt like a story DLC to me, even though it comes with a new campaign and brand new species and all that. I would have really loved like an Iron Claw Tiger Warrior unit that has like the Guardian passive, because they're the unique bodyguard of Bhashiva, for instance. But outside of that, the units you get are all excellent. I think they all fill a really interesting niche and have a really fun role. The regular Tiger Warriors are one of the best early game units you can get for Grand Cathay, because they just provide a lot of fast, strong, hard-hitting damage, which I think Cathay actually genuinely did need. They kind of make up for a lot of Cathay's biggest weaknesses, which is that Cathay tends to be a very slow, turtley faction, and the Tiger Warriors really open that up. Tiger Warrior Stalkers are also really excellent due to their stealth. They're not a ranged unit, not really. They're more like a melee infantry unit that has precursor weapons, because they have very little ammo, but the shooting they do have hits really hard, and they're very, very good at chewing up and spitting out infantry and getting behind enemies and messing them up. The Tiger Warrior Sawai are also an incredibly good high tier unit, just a really, really nice anti-large beat stick group that can take a really good charge if you can position them in time. Bhashiva herself is fantastic. I adore Bhashiva. Her abilities are awesome. The fact that she's the first character in the game with a true teleport ability brings a massive dynamic to the game that I feel like hopefully will start to breathe out into the other factions. Like, I really would love to see like the Skaven's spell Skitterleap get completely remade so that it actually does what Bhashiva's ability does. There's a lot of places I think that could show up and be really, really good. And then the Claw Speaker Sawai, he's fine. Not my favorite generic Lord Edition. I feel like the skill tree is pretty boring and could use with a little bit of spicing up, but the unit itself performs very well and is fun to use, and it does provide a decent niche for the faction, kind of being more of a fast attack anti-large specialist against like the Celestial General, who's I feel like is a bit better against mass hordes. But the Celestial General also has a bit better of a curve, I think, when it comes to how you build armies around him, thanks to being able to get like mounts. The Tiger Warrior Sawai, or sorry, not the Sawai, the Claw Speaker. The Claw Speaker is absolutely fantastic. It's a super great unit. It has an excellent, its skill tree seems simple, but it has a lot of really good options. The fact that you're able to get healing even on the non-life version for Tiger Warriors is fantastic. It has a really great theming and good mix of lores, Beast, Shadow, and Life, which are all incredibly welcome to the Grand Cathay roster. And it's great. It's excellent. It's a unit that I think I'll be using in almost all my campaigns. And as well as all the Tiger Warriors themselves. Honestly, the Lord is probably the weakest unit for me. And it's not that weak. It's just Cathay has a lot of good Lord options. So overall, would I say the DLC is worth it? Yes, I would. I would say if you like Grand Cathay or you play multiplayer, then I think the DLC is worth picking up. Though for the multiplayer comment, I would definitely look more to people like Turin, Anticity, etc. To get a more informed opinion than my own, because I just don't play that much multiplayer, if ever. But if you're just looking for a really fun new experience in Total War Warhammer, I think you cannot go wrong with Bhashiva and the Tiger Warriors. And I really, really, really enjoyed this. Of course, I do want to very bluntly say that I do have a bit of a bias that is worth acknowledging, that I hope to see many, many more of these small mini-pack DLCs, as I think they're a really good way to support the game going forward, where we have a number of factions that don't really need giant end times or Lord versus Lord size packs, but just need like little tiny things to help finish them off. And I would like to see more small DLCs throughout the year, as opposed to having one or two big ones throughout the year. So it's worth keeping in mind my bias. I'm of course incredibly excited to see Tiger Warriors from a from a Warhammer Fantasy perspective. This DLC is probably one of the most significant in the entire game, next to Grand Cathay itself and like the Vampire Coast and Kislev. So with that, I hope that gives you enough information to maybe consider if you're wanting to pick this up. I do intend on streaming. I've been streaming a lot lately, and I'm intending to keep doing so. So if you ever have any questions about this, feel free to drop by the stream and ask me if there's something specific you want to know about in regards to this DLC. And of course, I'm really easy to reach out to on any of my socials. But I did just want to put out a review. I do think this DLC is absolutely worth the price. If you're someone that wants to play just a new experience, a fresh new campaign, if you're a Cathayan fan, it's a must-have. If you want something that I feel like is quite different and unique compared to all the other factions in the game, it's worth picking up. And if you're someone like me that you just love this game and you want to see more small packs, then I would consider picking it up just to support it and to show Creative Assembly and Sega, notably, that people love this game and want to see more content for it. I realize that's kind of a shilly perspective, but, you know, I like what I like. I love this, and I want to see more of it. And if this pack is successful, then hopefully we could maybe see, like, a Tzeentch version with Egron von Horseman, or maybe we could see a vampire version that revolves around, like, the Strigoi with Vorag Bloody Tooth or whatever. But hopefully that all makes some sense. Normally I'm not super big into review videos. I kind of just like to live stream and show it for what it is. But I figured I would make this just because a lot of people have asked, and, you know, there you go. Thank you for watching. I will hopefully see y'all for Skulls or other random stuff that's coming up soon. We, do, of course, do have the Lords of the End Times barreling down at us alarmingly fast. Because we're almost to the start of summer, and it's supposed to come out by the end of summer. But I hope you enjoy Bhashiva and the Tiger Warriors. If you do end up picking up the DLC, please do let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll try and keep an eye out. If there's any notable questions I see, I'll see if I can kind of jump down there and answer them. So take care. Thanks for watching.